Endgame can be pretty hectic and crazy at times, so knowing how to maneuver and do everything right is very important. Today I'll be going over 5 different tips that I think are crucial to Endgame. Hopefully you guys enjoy. When you're sitting inside of your box waiting for zones to move and such, it's important not to be standing still doing nothing and just waiting. If you watch players like Mongraal and Mitr0, you'll see they're never standing still. They're always editing windows, looking where everybody is, trying to get as much info as possible. Now this is great just to know where everybody is, but as well, as you can see here, you can pick up easy damage and hopefully a limbs on players. But not only should you be looking, you should also be listening. You'll see here coming up, I end up hearing somebody glide in next to me and I end up shooting an RPG and he turns out to be white. Now I would never know that if I didn't even take the chance or didn't really go for any shots. So it's important to be looking everywhere and hopefully you can pick up an elim or two in this time to replenish your mats and maybe get you some more heals. During these times, it's important to not get too focused because if you do, you're going to end up getting tunnel visioned and just no matter what you want to push this player, and it opens up a lot of different players to be able to hit you as well. As you can see here, I moved a couple blocks away from our base and I'm getting shot at by somebody across the zone. So even if they can only hit you for an AR shot here or there, they're going to try their best, and it's important to make sure that you're staying focused and making sure you're not putting too much forward and just sitting out in the open like a psycho. It's important to communicate as much as possible because if you don't tell your teammate when you're hitting a jump pad or a rift or when you get tags on players, they might be focusing on a completely different situation, and especially if they end up not hitting the same jump pad or rift, it can leave one of you very isolated, and typically the player who doesn't hit that movement is going to have to rotate into zone regularly and they're going to probably have to fight some people on the edge of storm, and it's not going to be a really great situation for the both of you. But as well, making sure you're calling out things when you have height can make a very big difference. For example, you'll see here, once we get into this next zone, Zephyr ends up calling out that he has height, and that makes me be able to get up nice and easily to him because I thought the other players were still up on height. And that call is really just a game changer for us being in a way better position instead of being split from each other. Building off of communication, it's important to stay as close to your teammate as possible because if you get into those situations where you're isolated, it's going to be a lot harder to get out of them. For example, right here, if I was alone, I probably would have ended up losing that engagement, but luckily Exile was there to clean that guy up and pump him pretty hard for me. Now I do want to mention that Exile really doesn't play too much Fortnite anymore, so he said it was alright if I talked about this little mistake that he and I both made. He ended up getting behind me while I was pathing up the mountain, as you can see here, and he didn't let me know, and because if he would have let me know and said, hey, I got a guy on me, I can easily turn around and send some shots down or an RPG instead of healing up here. But he didn't let me know at all, and he ended up getting stuck behind, and now I'm left alone from this point on. Last but not least, I do want to talk about those situations where you end up getting to that last moving zone, and it could be a 1v1, 2v1, 2v2, whatever the situation is. It's important to play extremely smart here and use everything to your advantage. For example, I have height here, so there's no reason for me to ever jump down unless I'm going for that final kill, and that's even situational. When you get into those 2v1 situations or the 2v2, it's important to know what you're supposed to do. A lot of times it's really great to just watch some of the big streamers and the big pros because they know exactly what to do, and they have, like, I guess you could call them set plays that they like to do. One player will jump down to the bottom, or if they are on the ground, they'll throw down some traps, and then one will end up healing outside of the storm a little bit. And it's little things like that. If you're not used to these situations, it's going to be a lot harder to execute on them. Some great ways to pick up some of the strategies that are used is looking at some of the VODs from like Katowice, PAX, TwitchCon, or really any big tournament where there's a lot of pros playing, because that's where you're going to see a lot of the heal offs and these late game situations, so you know what you're supposed to do, and you can actually learn a lot not only from those set pieces. However, that is going to wrap up the video there, guys. I hope you did enjoy. I do want to mention that the end game really wasn't that great, but it's the best that I can get in champs. It's pretty weak there. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you thought about down below. As always, I'll see you guys in the next one.